What a brilliant cliffhanger. Emily in Paris really does demonstrate why it's easily one of Netflix's crown jewels on the platform, as season 4 just ended in such an incredible way, and everybody is now just demanding that Netflix immediately commissions a season 5. I'm sure they've already done this behind the scenes, and it's only a matter of time until this becomes public knowledge, as they know they have got an almighty brilliant show on their hands. And it's really interesting, as season 4 didn't necessarily start off in the best way, but it definitely did end in a brilliant way. And Emily in Paris, or maybe Emily in Rome, is just such a fun, guilty pleasure of a show. And I think it's interesting that Netflix is testing their 2-part release model with this season, which absolutely backfired for Invincible over on Amazon Prime. But what I think they did that was really clever here is that they only really had 4 weeks in between season 4 part 1 and season 4 part 2. And even though part 1 was relatively slow and very repetitive of what you have seen before, I feel like part 2 more than made up for it, as there were so many cool twists and turns. All of the new characters, I feel like, added so much spice, and like I said, ended in such an incredible way. Literally jaw on your floor moments, but let's come back to that in a minute. And actually, let's start in the beginning of part 2, and I think it was really, really clever how they forced Emily to stay in Paris over the Christmas holidays, as of course she originally wanted to go back to Chicago, but because there were loads of flight cancellations, this was kind of taken out of her hands. But what I did absolutely love is that Emily is having her first experience of a lounge at an airport, and I just loved her reaction. And her marketing brain had a really cool pitch line in terms of luxury starts on the ground, which I definitely think lounges definitely need to promote more. Even though I enjoyed season 4 as a whole, I do wish that there would have been more marketing pitch moments, as this definitely was one of the most quintessential aspects of the first 3 seasons. But anyway, after Emily's flight got cancelled, I loved it how she then joined Camille's family once again, and she was always creating some kind of fireworks with her family. For example, all of the love rivalry with Camille, the fact that Camille's mother doesn't really like her, as she sees her as a little bit of a thorn in between Camille and Gabriel. And of course, she's got a lot of sexual history with Camille's brother, who also should have and could have featured a lot more in this season. I thought his TikTok was really, really funny in part 1, and of course in part 2 he was just whispering and putting doubt in Emily's mind in relation to Gabriel. But I do think this guy could do a little bit more. And then of course her father is just absolutely hilarious. And Emily doesn't have any experience of skiing, and Gabriel quite literally chose Camille over Emily, and I thought this was a nice subtle way to introduce Marcello into the mix, as of course he's literally Emily's saving grace. And Camille's lie about the baby, which is effectively getting Gabriel to kind of choose Camille over Emily, ultimately led to their breakup. I thought Camille would have extended the lie for a little bit longer, but pretty much in that same chateau, she then revealed the truth to Gabriel that actually she was never pregnant to begin with. And even though Camille in part 1 definitely was more of a villainous figure in terms of trying to use the baby lie to really put a wedge in between Gabriel and Emily, ultimately, I feel like they've kind of written this character off now and have kind of given her a little bit of a happily ever after, in terms of she now knows that she definitely wants to be a mother, so now wants to adopt a baby and then ultimately move away. And I think it's nice that she did try to explore whether or not Gabriel wanted the same, but I quite like Gabriel's response, which is like, look, if you're going to bring a baby into this world, the parents should definitely be in love with your partner. So maybe Camille could come back in the future, but I do actually think that they've wrapped up this character in a really cool way. And even though Camille has kind of left the picture, the obstacles in between Emily and Gabriel did not stop there, as Genevieve, I think, is an absolutely brilliant new character for a multitude of different reasons. First of all, she's got a real crush on Gabriel and isn't afraid to step on Emily's toes to get him. And speaking of Emily, she's really single white femaling her in terms of pretty much wanting to take over all aspects of her life. But not only that, she is actually linked to Sylvie, as of course she is the daughter of Sylvie's husband, and also works with all of these guys. So I think Genevieve has the potential to be an absolutely awesome villain in the future. In a similar way to how I thought they would have explored and expanded Camille's baby lie storyline, I definitely thought that they would have explored Genevieve's desire to take over Emily's life a little bit more than they did do. But maybe they'll return to this storyline in the future when Genevieve's got a lot more experience in Paris, which will put Sylvie in a really difficult position, because does she choose her family or does she choose Emily? And I actually think that Genevieve lied to Sylvie in terms of telling her that her father actually does have relations with her mother still behind Sylvie's back. Even though they are in an open relationship, I think Genevieve was lying about this because she definitely wanted to put also a wedge in between Sylvie and her father. And the fact that Genevieve can speak French and understood everything that Gabriel was saying to Emily, even though Emily didn't understand all of it, and was able to use this in a really spiteful way to really get Emily out of the way. I think Genevieve, like I said, is such a villainous character. And I love how they added more dimension to Gabriel. And instead of being the two-dimensional love interest of Emily, actually, now they're showing this character is a lot more rounded. He's got his own feelings and he's finally expressing it. I think it was really cool to see a different side of this guy. And also, he is really, really loyal, as he could have easily got with Genevieve, especially when she's putting it all on a plate for him. Especially while he's on this euphoric high of finally getting the Michelin star that he's always wanted. Actually, he was really headstrong to wanting to stay with Emily. And speaking of Emily, I thought it was really, really emotional when she had that little mini breakdown when she sees Alfie's also moved on and everything is now coming to the surface in terms of did she make right decisions in the past. She is now obviously going to spend Christmas alone. All of that stuff you can really see just ultimately just got too much for her. But then that didn't last that long, as she was then on another whirlwind romance, this time with Marcello. And I think Rome just looked absolutely spectacular in this show. Literally does make you want to buy a ticket and just fly off to Paris and also fly off to Rome, because I loved all the little adventures. And you can also see it from Marcello's point of view, as he is thinking originally that Emily was just using him for a business deal. So I think the writing of this show is just really, really good, as you can really see where all of the different characters are coming from. And Sylvie definitely did take advantage of the fact that Emily is with Marcello and is just seeing dollar signs, as she just obviously wants a business deal with his wider family. And then when they've actually got some clients in Rome, they're now thinking to make their fake office in Rome an actual reality. So there definitely could be reasons for giving it to every single member of Sylvie's team, but she ultimately decides to give it to Emily because Marcello's mother was really, really impressed with her. And I thought it was so shocking when she was nearly going to change her Instagram handle to Emily in Rome. But back in Paris, I love the little mini powerful speech that Alfie was giving to Gabriel in terms of, look, don't let your ego get in the way of a potentially brilliant romantic partner in Emily. And maybe there could be some regret, even though he has happily moved on now, that Alfie is feeling, but I think it's nice that he is still able to give some words of advice to Gabriel. And I think it was so cool, the fact that Gabriel is now on this mission to get to Rome and to try to win her back. Season 5 literally cannot come soon enough. I love that they gave Luke and Julian mini storylines as well from a marketing firm perspective, obviously going to a rival firm and then coming back. Mindy's singing just gets better and better, and now she is finally going to be a judge on Chinese Pop Star, which is of course throwing her back all the way to her younger years. It's such a shame that Nico completely destroyed all of the dreams of Eurovision though. He is being portrayed to be such a calculating, ruthless guy that is only caring about himself and his own brand image and trying to get the CEO position. Again, you can see it from his perspective, but they really are showing the fact that he does not care about Mindy at all. Yet, Mindy is always putting his feelings first. During season 5, they'll re-explore her romantic partnership with Benoit. So like I said, season 5 cannot come soon enough, and I just think this show just goes from strength to strength. All of the fashion looks really, really good. All of the travel looks really, really cool. All of the marketing is really, really good, even though I wish there was a little bit more of it. I do actually think, like I said, this show is just such a strong package, and even though season 4 was a little bit mixed, I have always said that the way that you leave an audience by the end of a show or a movie is incredibly important and very, very impactful, and I feel like Emily in Paris season 4 part 2 just did that in such a good way. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give season 4 a mega 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of Emily in Paris season 4? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.